Hey, what's up guys? It's Pedro here from newcoder.com, and in this tutorial we're going to be talking about functions. Now all a function is basically a reusable block of code that performs a task. So to give you guys an example, let's say I want to add two numbers together. So to do that in a function, I can say function, and then I could give my function a name. Now this name has to follow the same rules as you would for variables. And I already went over those rules in the variables. If you forgot them, you could take a look at that video. So once I've given function a name of add, I hit parentheses and then curly braces. Now within these curly braces is where my code is going to be. Now within these parentheses, what I list here are called parameters. So let's say I want to add, well, I need to add two numbers, right? Well, at least two numbers. So I could say num1, comma, num2. So I could hit Control S to save. And now down here, I could put my code. I could say console.log num1 plus num2. End it with a semicolon. But now we actually have to call this function. Now we have to actually invoke this function. So how do we go about doing that? Well, I can just go down here and I could just say add parentheses and then the two numbers I want to pass in. Now down here, between these parentheses, I am passing two arguments because this function accepts two parameters, num1 and num2. So I'm just going to say 1, comma 1. Control S to save. Control B. Right click. Review and Explorer. Double click. F12. And you can see that we get the output of 2. Now let's head back to our editor. And instead of just printing out the result of num1 plus num2, let's say I actually want the result returned. So I'm going to hit Control B. And instead of saying console.log num1 and num2, I can use the keyword return that num1 plus num2. End that with a semicolon. And now when I invoke this function, when I call it, I am going to get the result of num1 plus num2. So what I could do with that result is I could actually store it in a variable. So I could say number, actually, let's call it sum. We're going to assign it whatever the function add returns. So let's print out what sum is, just to verify that we're getting something. End it with a semicolon, Control S to save. Head over to our browser, hit refresh, and you can see that we get the same 2. Now let's head back to our editor. And now I just want to talk a little bit more about the return statement. Now the return statement can only be used once. So for example, if I was to have a return statement underneath the return statement, so I could say return 2, for example, Control S to save. Actually, no, 3. And the reason I want to do 3 instead of 2 is because 1 plus 1 is 2. So if I make it 2, you won't be able to tell the difference. Control S to save. Head over to Chrome. Hit refresh. You can see that we get the output of 2. And why is that? Because once I say return, that means, hey, kick me out of this function. I do not care what happens afterwards from the first return.